Hello, everybody, and welcome to Problem Solve Her, a fun and cool, innovative podcast where individuals share their stories and experiences and how they solve everyday life problems. One of our regulars is here, Jeff Nelson from Palm Beach Dog Academy is in the house.
Hi, guys.
Agmore is in the house. Chloe's in the house. See, I did it backwards today. Instead of saying Dagmar first, I said Jeff first. I just threw it off a little bit. Happy Friday, guys.
Happy Friday.
Happy
Ready
Friday.
to get started. Today, I'm very excited. We speak about, Jeff's speaking about dog commands and how dog owners, dog parents, dog dads, and dog moms can reinforce them successfully.
That's such a great topic.
Yes, basically what I do with my life. I try to help people communicate better with their dogs. Yeah,
Right.
so that's what I do is I help people communicate better with their dogs. The idea being, by nature, we use so much language, dogs have a hard time deciphering it. So we pick a very simplified language. Look at your name, sit, come, down, stay, place, which is like an elevated platform that they get on. And it's a very simple language, but it never changes, meaning it sounds the same every time you say it, regardless of whether you're stressed out, annoyed, frustrated, happy, or angry. It always sounds exactly the same. And think in terms of 300 to 500 repetitions before a dog would recognize what the command means. Once you've taught a dog what the command means, now it's our job to teach them that the right decision is to always listen to it. So it becomes reasonable to say, now that you know what come means, I'm going to expect you to listen to it, whether you feel like doing it at the moment or not. So that's when we get into reinforcement. So I'll just give you a very quick example. Pick a command, come. I tell my dog to come. If he does, he gets praise on the first step in my direction. Good boy. He gets another good boy when he gets to me. And he gets a release word, which frees him to go play and have fun and do his thing. But if he doesn't come, this is where the balance part of the training comes in. I correct him. I would make him come to the spot that I had asked him to come to originally, and then he would owe me another repetition. But as soon as he gets perfect, he's free to play and have fun. So here's what his message is. I call it the other end of the leash. What he receives in his head is, if Jeff asks me to come, I have two options. Both of them involve me coming to Jeff. One is fun and one isn't fun. And it doesn't involve a lot of anger or, a lot of, intensity. It's simply a science where I'm teaching my dog, you know what I asked you to do. You know I'm going to pay you really well if you do it. By the way, I don't take no for an answer. So again, the dog would go, okay, maybe Jeff is the most stubborn human being who ever lived, and it's better to just do the command when asked to do it. So now let's say you have a dog that's fearful, aggressive, over exuberant. I mean, I could go on and on with the variable different problems my clients call me with. They're all solved with a dog who listens. So if I can get a dog to look at their name, even when they're distracted, come when they're called, even when they don't feel like it, sit immediately, regardless of any environment, then I can get their mind off of distractions and onto me. And thereby I can solve any dog related problem that there is. But if the dog goes, oh, I don't want to listen right now because I'm scared of the UPS man, or I don't like the neighbor's dog, and all of a sudden my obedience breaks down, then I can't solve the problem that I'm looking to solve. So this is just in a nutshell what I do for a living every day, trying to help clients teach the commands and reinforce them in a way where the dog goes, it's really fun to listen and it's not fun not to listen. And my owner's so clear that I now have confidence in every situation that we find ourselves in.
Wow. I have to go back to what you just said because it's sticking out in my mind. Did you say it takes 300 to 500 times on a command for a dog to listen and understand?
I mean, it's just a made up number from 30 something years of experience. But yeah, I believe
No, but that
somewhere
seems like
between
a
three.
lot of wow. Yeah. Okay.
Well, think about, I have 3 training dogs here right now. I am going to do each of their names over 100 times today.
Right. So
Right.
you're basing it
That's
on,
one day.
it just
Yeah.
seems like it's a big number, like it's daunting for you. It's probably nothing. You're like, what's that? And then 300 is right.
Right. That's the one thing I always find is for some of my clients, it seems like chores and homework, but I've been doing it for so long and it's still the funnest thing I could think to do is repetitions of teaching a dog to be clear of exactly what I'm asking them to do. And when you watch that little light bulb go on And they're like, all I got to do is jump on this thing and stay here until you say the word free. How confident, excited, and proud of themselves they get. And when my clients see that, it's the coolest thing in the world. But if I'm being honest, it's not easy to have a dog who listens in every scenario. You know what they're like when three new guests just walk in the door, or the neighbor's dog's barking at them and straining at the leash. And I'm saying to the dog, that's none of your business, right? You're gonna have to ignore that and do the things that I'm asking. So yeah,
Absolutely.
it's not easy, but it is very rewarding.
I love that. Well, speaking of neighbors' dogs, I have new neighbors that moved in next door, Dad and his two kids, and they have an older black lab. She's 6. I mentioned you actually because they're like, oh, you can't train a dog at this age. I'm like, yes, you can. The reason why she's having issues right now is because they separated. So the kids are with the mom half week still in the house. And now this dog is living in an apartment building and isn't running around the backyard all day and is on a leash and is going out. So she's in a different environment. So she's been barking a lot. And I invited them over for dinner the other night, and she was so calm with Oliver. They were like, this dog, Oliver, is so well trained. I'm like, I mean, kind of, but the way that the two of them, because it was in our home and the dog came in, Oliver knows if I'm bringing a dog into our house, he's
Yes.
totally chilling. He trusts me. If it was on the street and they met for the first time, it might be completely different. So, my question to you is, what are the scenarios best for that? Because a lot of times people get together because they have dogs and they want to have a play date, right? So
Right.
what do you suggest when you're going into someone's home for the dogs when they meet the first time? What's the best case scenario?
So the easiest way to bond two dogs who don't know each other well is to take a walk together first, right? So before you bring the dog into your apartment, into your house, you go for a nice walk, walking side by side. I don't mean they have to be playing and interacting. Literally, just you walk next to me and the dog walks next to their owner. And then when you get back from that walk, you're pretty much part of a pack already. It's kind of how they decide things. So that's always my first suggestion. But here's the problem with that, and this is where I sound like a broken record, is most dogs on that walk would not be walking nicely on a loose leash paying attention. They'd be trying to pull over and you see how people walk their dogs. And I'm just a fanatic for teaching dogs to walk beautifully right next to me until I give them their release word and then they can play and interact, but not when they decide. It's when I give permission. So we call that a controlled walk, and a controlled walk breeds like absolute feelings of confidence and clarity and just good feelings for the dogs and dopamine and all sorts of great things, where the dog that's pulling and barking and jumping is getting the wrong kind of I call that not socializing but anti-socializing, right? So that's what I always talk about, is if you can get your dog to walk beautifully while paying attention and just being honest with you, you're probably going to have to hire a trainer to create that if you don't have it naturally. It's well worth it though. You have a dog who walks beautifully, looks at their name every time you need their attention, sits the first time they're asked. Just those three things alone, you're in rarefied air. You're that dog owner that can go into any public scenario with absolute confidence, and that's what dogs thrive on. They look at you and they go, oh, look how calm and confident. You always know exactly what to say and how to reward me for it and how to let me know what's the right decision and what's the wrong decision. Not much different than raising kids, right? The difference is I can train a dog fully in, let's say I get a brand new puppy today. Within a year, perfectly trained, understands all the boundaries, all the commands, while it's probably going to take me something like 25 years to raise my kids.
Well, but it is similar to what you were saying before, where the commands, there's a reward at the end. It's like, do you want to have fun and be happy, or are we not going to have a good time here? And it's the same with kids. It's like, if you do this, here's your reward. Maybe your reward is we get to go swimming after this. Maybe you can have a cookie tonight. Maybe you can watch your favorite cartoon, but you have to do these things if you want to get the rewards. So it is.
Sure.
Training dogs is probably like training babies and toddlers. I mean, and like you said, it takes 25 years. I mean, my parents will say that I still don't listen in my 40s or whatever. Um, but I would assume that but it takes so much discipline. And like you said, the owners, I like to call them the parents. I don't like the word owners. The dog parents or like, oh my God, this is so much work. These are chores. And Dagmar and I have spoken about this a lot. I mean, I only have one dog. Dagmar has a lot of kitties she has to take care of. Having pets is such a responsibility that people don't understand. Having a dog for me, I don't have any children. Oliver is my son. This is my first dog I've ever had by myself. A friend called me yesterday and was like, I'm thinking of getting a puppy. And my first response was, I want you to know that this is going to change your life completely. There are mornings where I want to sleep in on a Sunday because I maybe had some drinks on Saturday night or I was out
Hmm.
late. And at 7 a.m., before it's even light out now, right? Light till 7:30, he's licking my face like, Mom, let's go. The amount of what you have to give to have a pet it's so much. People don't understand. It's not just, all right, feed your dog, take him out. Oliver has to go out 5 to 6 times a day. I'm not only taking a dog out 3 times. I'm not judging other people, but I'm not about that dog life. I don't know
That's
if you
right.
agree, but they need more stimulation than that. And they have to go to the bathroom.
I completely agree. I mean, obviously, some people work very hard and they don't get all these opportunities, but there's dog walkers, there's daycares, there's neighbors who will be happy to do you a favor. Dogs need a ton of stimulation. And if they're doing things that annoy you, like barking and jumping and stealing, and that is them begging for more stimulation. That's what they're saying. Please stimulate my brain. Please stimulate my body. And again, I just go back to the fact that if you can walk your dog nicely without a bunch of pulling and jumping and barking, then it's really fun to go out into public with them. And that's what dogs love more than anything. Seeing a ton of sights, smelling a ton of smells, being there with you together, and it's the best. But if they look at you and you're like, oh, I'm annoyed, I'm frustrated, like you're not behaving yourself, that is not the stimulation they're looking for.
That makes sense. That leads me to my next question. It's for Dagmar. So, Daggy, when are you getting a puppy?
What?
Dag?
I want to know what breed Dagmar likes.
Don't even know if she'd ever have a dog, but Daggy, if you were, yeah, that's a great question. Dagmar, if you were to get a dog, let's just say hypothetically, what type of a dog would you get? And would it be a rescue? Would it be a puppy?
I wouldn't get a dog.
Mm.
Really? Why?
I
Because
have
you think the
to.
cats, maybe with the cats, it wouldn't work?
It took me many, many years really to get into the brain of the kitties and the soul of the kitties. I'm good now. I don't want to start from scratch again.
She's satisfied because she has all those amazing kitties already
Right.
and a great
She does
relationship.
like Oliver, though. They did have a bond when they met, right, Dag?
That's right. But I think you do.
Absolutely.
You get a dog when you need that kind of bond and you need that kind of
Right.
new family member. And sounds like Dagmar has plenty of that with her cats.
Right, but
This
never say no. Maybe in 10 years from now, all of a sudden, she might want a dog. I mean, you never know.
It might come scratching at your back door one day. You
Yeah.
wouldn't, just lost. Help
I
me.
have
You wouldn't be
dogs.
able
I
to say
find
no.
dogs every day here.
Really?
People who
Are there a lot of
yeah,
strays near Cocoa Beach?
not strays, but they lost. People lose dogs every day.
Wow. Oh, you mean like they
Because
get
Like
out of the
crazy.
backyards? Right.
yeah, because of my backyard, they
Unbelievable
come
how
into the
many
backyard. So thanks God I'm
how
not
many
scared.
dogs escape and get lost every
Why
day.
do they
I'm
It's
do
not
that,
truly
Jeff?
scary.
What's the main concern? What's the main area? A dog that's obviously not trained. But what other reasons would dogs want to escape their home?
I mean, well, first of all, exploring is what they live for. So, like you said, people work hard. They're not walking their dogs. They just leave them in a backyard. The funnest thing in the world would be to dig out of there and go exploring. Little do they know they could get hit by a car at any moment or not
That's the
find their way
scariest
back or
thing.
get
Yeah.
stolen. So to their minds, they're not doing anything that terrible or that scary. But once your dog leaves your property, anything can happen. It's just so there's a Facebook group that I'm on every day called Loxahatchee Lost and Found Pets. And it's literally dozens of dogs who have gotten out and people are
Wow.
searching for them. It's an amazing group because they help people find the dogs. But it makes me heartsick to see how many dogs are getting lost every single day. And some of
Wow.
them never come back, right?
So this is a very common thing.
Very common.
So
I
Jeff, I
Yes.
guess
have a
because I live in an
question.
apartment and not in a neighborhood like my parents do where there's residential housing, that I don't hear any neighbors ever say to me like we lost the dog. It just doesn't really
Yeah.
happen in apartments. Wow. That's really
And what you see is a lot of repeat offenders where it's the same dogs over
same
and over
dogs.
and over. Like the people just don't care enough.
No, you have
But
to dig
those are
your.
the Shia LaBeoufs of the world. Those are the dogs that are like real rebels.
We call it not learning your lesson, but
Well, here in my area, they're mostly huskies who are the escape artists
they,
or the diggers, like the hunting dogs. Seems like they
yes.
are diggers underneath the fence. So if the fence is not secured underneath the soil level, then it seems they're getting out. But I'm curious about I'm when I'm on my group on my area, and they have rules when you find a lost dog, how you should behave and what you should do. Do you want to share that?
Well, I think it all starts with calm energy. So if someone were asking me, hey, I found this dog, it seems a little nervous, maybe a little scared, what's the right approach? It's avoid eye contact. You can really scare a dog that's nervous by making too much direct eye contact. And the first thing people do is like, oh my God, too much excitable energy. So you're avoiding eye contact. You're keeping your tones very calm, not overly excited. Uh, and what I would do is slip like a leash over the dog's head and not even look at them and just start walking. Oh, good dog. But really avoiding that eye contact and that face to face stuff is very helpful. But what you're trying to provide them is this very calm presence where you're like, I got you, bud. You have nothing to be worried about. But you know what people might do? Oh, you poor little baby. You must be terrified. And then you literally can make the dog terrified with that energy, right?
Right.
So it's about being calm and confident in every scenario.
Yeah, here what I read in that example that you shouldn't follow a dog or hunt down a dog and try
Never chase a
right,
dog, that's for
right,
sure.
chasing. That's the word
Never.
they're using.
Yep. The best bet is you clap your hands, walk the opposite way. A lot of times they'll follow you. But if you go trying to get them, their nature is to run away, right? If you get chased, you run. So yeah, like when a dog steals something like a sneaker in my house, a puppy I'm training, I run the other way and I look like I'm having more fun than them and they drop the shoe and they come to see what I'm doing. I watch my clients chase their dog around the house for 30 minutes and the dog's like, wow, stealing's the funnest game that ever could, you know. So you don't ever chase a dog. There's no reason to do that. If imagine your dog's getting away from you and you're screaming their name and chasing them, they're going to run right out in the street. But if you
Right.
happily say their name and run back to your front door, they might chase you and thereby you could save their life. So, yeah, knowing these things is very productive.
What Dagmar was saying, though, it's an interesting point in terms of huskies and the hunting dogs are the ones that try to escape. Um, what breeds of dogs do you find that if one were to escape, or just dogs that you're training are the easiest dogs to train based on their intelligence, how quickly they pick up the commands, like for what are the top 3 or 4 breeds that you're like, oh my god, I love when I get these puppies because so much easier to train than say
Sure.
another breed.
I'll tell you two things. One is there are some dogs that are easier. It's not because they're so intelligent, it's because they're not so intelligent. So, like,
Interesting.
some golden retrievers, some labs, super easy to train, amazing family dogs, just wonderful. I like the challenges. So I went for a Boston Terrier like Frankie. Everyone tells you good luck training that little thing to do anything, right? So that's where my interests lie. I have an Alaskan Malamute, which is essentially a giant husky, related to the husky. Very wild. I might have told you guys
Looks
the
more like a
story.
German Shepherd more. When I see them, I confuse them. I think they look more like a German Shepherd than a Husky.
My Malamute looks more like a wolf than any breed of dog. And he's the one I
Yes.
may have told you the story where I had to wear a full police bite suit for a month before that dog stopped trying to kill me. Like he was the most aggressive dog that I've ever seen. And I work with aggressive dogs for a living.
And now he
So
sleeps
yeah,
in Quinn's bed.
well, they are best friends. Yeah, they get along great. So yeah, like I always say, there's no untrainable dogs, there's no unsolvable problems. But getting back to what we were talking about earlier, it's a huge responsibility. And you'll see people talk to their dogs when they need the command in the moment, but not a whole lot of practice. So when they need their dog to stay, they say it, but they don't practice it 20, 30 times a day like I ask my clients to do. I never ask a dog to do something in real life that I haven't practiced 100 times for no reason. And my practice sessions, progressively get harder and harder until there's nothing in real life that could even match the intensity of my practice. So I'm doing stays with these dogs. I'm ringing the doorbell. I'm asking Quinn to run around as fast as she can. I'm having other dogs play with them. I'm thinking of everything that could happen in real life, and I'm preparing the dog, saying, when this happens, you're already going to know what I want you to do because we worked so hard on it. But imagine my life trying to get people to do that. It's like people who sign up for the gym. It sounds great, but then they don't go to the gym every day. You're not going to get in great shape. So I got to get people to work hard. I got to motivate them. And the hardest part is making it fun, right? Anyone can do work, but if you can make it fun for a person to do these exercises, bond really strongly with their dog through this type of stimulation, right? Because think about what people think. Oh, here comes the dog trainer. Now your life's really in trouble. Now and they called me because their dog's annoying them or frustrating them. But all I think about is the dog. I'm not, oh no, you poor people, you have to listen to a dog bark or so. That's not the way my brain works. I only think about that poor dog, and he's got annoyed parents. They look frustrated with him. They sound frustrated with her, whatever it is. And when you can get these people to just put in that time and effort, and all of a sudden, dog's not pulling, jumping, barking, running out the door, stealing, biting the kids. I could go on and on. Once they see that the dog can learn these things, and their bond just is so much stronger, it's an amazing thing to see. But I have to motivate them to work really hard. I mean, it's hard work for me, and I've been doing it, forever. So imagine when you have no idea how to do it and you got to get started from scratch. And I'm teaching people how to do it. They really have to work at it. But it is a very, very rewarding thing.
Yeah, once it's done right, like you said, it's on the parents, the dog parents, because if they're not doing it, it's like forget it. You can train a dog can stay with you for 2 months and then they go home and they're just kind of like, yeah, then how are they going to keep it up? But I took your advice and what you were saying about talking less and just doing short words. So with
Yeah.
Oliver, I've been doing this for a while now and it works. So when we go outside, on the street, there's all kinds of things. There's food, people just chuck things, dogs,
Oh,
people don't clean up after their dogs. So now when we walk by something that I know he should not go, I either go like this, no, like that, or I go, and he keeps walking. I'm not like, Oliver, don't touch it, stay away from it. It's like, I'm like a drill sergeant, and it's just, and if there's a dog coming by now that he's still intact and there's other male dogs in the neighborhood, it's like they smell each other, right? From far away. They know that they're intact. I don't know what it is, the sense it, and maybe you can explain it. But now either that dog or Oliver starts going, it's like from down the street. They know.
yeah.
And so I go, walk away. And I just turn and I go, and he's like totally chill. But I really appreciate that because like you said, full on sentences. I mean, I do when I'm at home. I'm like, all right, this is what we're doing today. We're going out a little bit, like that. But when it
Yeah.
comes down to it, like he understands my commands.
That's what we do. We separate it into two ways that you can talk to your dog because I would never take that away from you. I'll look at my dog all day. I love you, buddy. You're the best. You're so handsome. I never take that away from anybody. But
Yeah.
if you're actually trying to communicate something you want from them, then the language has to be very, very, very clear. Right. So there's that. That's one language. My dog, Ollie, come down, stay. It's perfect. It's clear. But then I'll look at him. Oh, you're so handsome. I love you. It has no meaning. We're just being nice to each other. That's all fine. But yes, when you want to communicate to your dog, this is a behavior I need you to do immediately. You can't do those full sentences. In fact, you can't even add any extra language or take anything away or juxtapose it at all. It
Because it'll
always has to
confuse
sound the
them.
same.
Yeah. And
Right.
the
So if I
tone, I
change,
notice my tone too. I have
yeah,
to keep the same exact tone or it
every time,
confuses him.
never changing.
But
I mean, when you have dogs that don't like, let's say that dog growled at your dog one day and now every day he sees him, he's defensive. It's your job to teach your dog to ignore it, and that's what obedience is. It's, yes, that dog's growling at you and lunging at you, but your job is to pretend it's not even happening. That's asking so much from a dog. Like when I would put my dog in a downstay and you see my videos, million things going on. He's completely off leash, cars and people and dogs and kids everywhere. We have to trust each other 100% that he would never break the stay And I would never let a dog attack him in that scenario or let him get run over or whatever. But that's the whole point of it, is saying, yes, that dog is out of control, but that has nothing to do with you. Right. And
Absolutely.
that is a great example of when obedience comes into play, is when you have the same neighbor's dog you're going to see every single day, and that dog's a jerk off, you know,
Yeah.
and you want your dog to be calm, cool, and collected. That's look at me when I say your name. That's walk next to me, ignoring the distraction. That's sit the first time I ask. That's quiet if I ask you to stop barking. Now you have all your problems solved. But what I'm telling you is, I watch people, and in those scenarios, although the dog would listen if they had a treat and no distraction, without the treat and with the distraction, they get nothing. And so their problem's unsolvable.
Right. That makes sense. But in terms of two male dogs that are both intact, is it like
Hmm.
a sense of smell? Because this only happens now with male dogs that, um, for lack of better terms, both have their balls. In case people don't know what intact means,
Yep.
is it like a smell? Is it like instinctual? Because
It's
first of all,
definitely a
okay,
smell. It's definitely,
that's what I figured.
I mean, dogs have that chemical ability to sense hormones in another dog's body. Like, from a mile away, my sister-in-law's dog's in heat. I hear everybody's neighbor's dogs going crazy. Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's who they are. It's what they thrive on. So yes, they can tell when a dog's intact. And if you ever see the worst of it, it's an intact male at like a dog park, and all the dogs who've been neutered want to kill him. Right? They're like, "What are you doing here?"
Right.
So there's something different about it. And again, that's where you want to be able to tell your dog, I know your instinct's telling you one thing, but I'm telling you not to do that thing that your instinct's telling you to do. That's really a good definition of dog training in general. Your instinct tells you to chase that squirrel. I'm telling you, you're not allowed off the property. So if my dog chases the squirrel to the end of the property and stops dead, what's more powerful, his instinct or my leadership? It has to be my leadership. And it is.
They
Right?
love a squirrel, though. Dogs go crazy for squirrels.
That's it. So, Chloe, picture me. My dog was a ball fanatic madman. So I would throw the ball off my grass into the middle of the street with a loose leash in my hand. And the instant that he stepped from the grass into the street, correction. And then I would do it over and over until he's like, Dad, I'm not stepping in the street. And then it would be free. Now we can play. Repetition, 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 until he would chase that squirrel and go, Look, I didn't go off the property. But it was hundreds of repetitions, because I need my dog to not ever run off my property. So that's what we do. Lots of repetition, lots of obedience training. And then once you have that taught, you do reinforcement training, which is, yes, I'm going to tell you to stay, and I'm going to try to think up anything that could mess you up. And I'm going to show you not to mess up in those scenarios. But when I have, like, let's say I don't teach someone how to do it, they say stay and they stare at the dog, and they're going stay and they're staring. Right. And that's not real life. In real life, you're not going to be doing that. So I have to teach my clients to say stay and go watch out of the corner of their eye, pretend to look at their phone. And then the moment the dog breaks, they correct them and put them back. And their dog's like, wow, you have eyes in the back of your head. You're always paying attention. That's really difficult for people. So here are all the things that I have to teach them: the right words in the right order with no extra language, perfect timing, correct tone of voice, the right facial expression, the right body language, and the right leash technique. And by nature, we're terrible at all those things. So that's just a good insight into my job on a daily basis, is teaching people, nope, we don't hold the leash like that. We hold it like this. We don't use our voice like that. We use it like this. Nope, your face has to stay neutral or praise. So it's just constant teaching people the right behaviors to get their dogs to do the right behaviors.
What should pet parents have in mind when they're traveling or when they're going on a vacation? Because then it's a totally different environment from the time they get into the car to the time they arrive at their destination, and
Yes.
then visiting
We're
whatever.
on a plane. Yeah.
No, I mean, that's such a great question. And I'm so glad you brought it up. Think of why I'm constantly teaching people to get their dog out into public, right? Like, let's say your dog has now learned the very basics: to walk nicely, to not jump on people, to not bark excessively. Then I'm asking my clients for like 3 days a week, 20 minutes each time, Home Depot, Publix, shopping centers, coffee shops. So then when you go and get on a plane after a dog's done that for several months, they're like, there's nothing big, no big deal about an airport. But if your dog is living in your house and your backyard and a quick walk around your quiet neighborhood, they would not be able to tolerate traveling because they're not desensitized to those level of distractions. So we do obedience training and socializing so that if you want to travel, if you want to leave your dog with a neighbor or a boarding facility, they're like, big deal. Been there, done that before. But think about how many people do my house, my yard, my neighborhood, and not much else. Those dogs are not social. So they're not good at traveling. They're not good at going to public places. They don't generally do great at the vet or the groomer. So all of it's tied into having a dog that has been out in public and been taught exactly how to behave in every possible scenario so that when you really like think of the most pressure situation you can, my dog, not to sound like a big bragger, but my dog would have been like, this is no big deal to me. I've been everywhere. I've seen everything. Right. So, like, that's why I could take him to schools and talk to kids. And there's 100 kids screaming and grabbing at him, which I know he didn't like. Who would? But he's tolerant of it because I taught him to be completely tolerant of it. So I had to trust him like that. And in order to create that, he had to be one of the most well trained dogs ever. And that's why I believe in it so strongly, is because I never saw him scared. I never saw him nervous. I never saw him wondering what he should be doing with himself. He was not anxious in any scenario ever. And I believe it was from all the training that we did.
Yeah, without
And so that's what I suggest to people, is constantly be able to get your dog's mind on you with simple commands. And then it won't matter that you're in an airport or at a new person's house or in a public setting. They won't mind at all because you can still communicate and cut through all of that. But you have to understand that what I watch with my dog training eyes are a bunch of people that could go out in public and say their dog's name 100 times and their dog won't even look at them once. They could say sit 50 times and their dog won't sit. Too distracted, too excited. And that's why they can't solve whatever problems they have. Now, some of those dogs are just the happiest things in the world and they don't wind up being that problematic. But some of those dogs, it turns fear, anxiety, or aggression, then all of a sudden they need me to help them. But it doesn't mean that the happy, excited dogs couldn't have a better life if they learned how to listen better, because they certainly could. But people tend to call me when everything's falling apart. And obedience is, when you talk about the ability to give a dog an amazing life, obedience is as important to my dogs as me being able to speak English to my daughters is. If I couldn't tell my dog what to do and have him do it, that would be like me telling my daughters to not step out in the street and they just flipped me off and ran in the middle of the street. I have to have the dogs and the children understand my language because, look, my kids will grow up one day, but a dog always needs your guidance, always, forever, right? They don't grow up and get human smart where they can navigate the world without you. They need you to be the leader, their guide through all of it. And it's a very simple language. Look at your name, come when I call you, walk beautifully when I ask you to, sit, stay, go to your place, quiet. That's all anybody would ever need. And I teach a lot more than that to my own dogs, but I'm telling you guys what the most basic foundational language that every dog should listen to would be those commands I just mentioned, if
yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah, that makes sense. What you just shared, that when a dog only lives in the house or in the backyard, right? Then goes out into the world and like gets totally overwhelmed. I don't know if you follow Lee Asher or if you know Lee Asher from the Asher.
The Asher found, yeah, the guy who rescues them. Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think he has over 300 dogs now rescued, and he goes on dog walks with them right
Yeah.
through the area. And I watched one video where he rescued a husky who only lived in the backyard of a house, and the family kind of abandoned this husky there, never got him out, never went on walks with him. He was totally untrained. And I watched the video as they finally allowed him to rescue the dog, and he opened the door and went into the backyard. And you could see totally this dog was not used to human connection, was not used to commands. The dog just started aggressively jumping on Lee and jumping and jumping and jumping. And you could see that he gave him commands and he had to stay his ground. And it took him a while to get the dog calm enough to go on the leash with him. And as soon as he went on a leash with the dog and gave him commands, was a totally different.
That's right. That's exactly how you bond with a dog. You get them on a leash, which gives you the control, and you teach them a few basic things, and they're like, "Oh, you're not just my friend, you're my leader. Thank you. Now I feel less scared and more confident." So that's why I babble on and on about obedience all the time, is because I've seen it turn the most fearful dogs into the most confident dogs, and the most aggressive dogs into the most beautifully behaved dogs. It's always obedience that does it. And people don't get that. They think obedience is like control and dominance, and that's not the relationship I want with my dog. But that's not how I look at it. I look at it, dogs are pack animals and they need a leader, and it should be a person in a human world like this, right? So it's me showing them, hey, in the world, there's boundaries, there's rules. They have to be obeyed for you to stay safe. And again, it's all based on that very minimal foundation of language that they should go, I know exactly what I'm being asked to do. And by the way, this guy pays so well, why not do it? Right. But think about what that means is I'm asking my clients to not give attention away for free all the time. Because I'm not a big treat trainer. I don't use food all the time. I don't have food out in the world. And a dog would rather chase a squirrel than get your stupid treat anyway. So it can't be based all on food. So you're teaching people just how to use their attention as currency. But think about dogs that are always demanding attention. They're hitting you with their paw, they're barking, they're just putting their head in your lap, and you're like, "Oh, I love you so much." Well, if you're giving it away for free, it's not currency anymore, right? So I teach my clients, if you want to give your dog 5 minutes of love, ask for one thing. Like, say their name, and if they look in your eyes, give them 5, 10 minutes of love and affection. But in their brains, they earned it by looking at their name. Whereas the bad trainer just gave it for nothing. That's the only difference. And it's hard to explain to people because they're like, my dog asked me for attention. Of course, I'm going to give it to him. But that is a dog training a human, right? And I want the human training the dog. So, me, I walk in, I see my clients' dogs who are adorable and they love me. And they're like, Jeff, it's nice to see you. And I ignore them because they're like overexcited. And then all of a sudden I look at them and say, sit. And they sit. And then I give them, so happy to see you. And they're like, I'll do anything just for Jeff's attention. But if I gave it for free, that wouldn't work anymore. So that's a big part of what I do is I teach people, look, dogs love our affection. They love our attention. They love being bonded with you in that way. But let's create some boundaries and let's teach them to listen for these things. And the really cool thing is once your dog's super well trained, you can spoil them rotten. But you don't get them well trained by spoiling them. You get the privilege by getting them very well trained. I spoil my dogs. I'm not going to lie to you. First, I train.
We know that, Jeff. We know.
Yeah.
Hey,
Gotten to
another question I assume is the same for dogs as with cats. Like my cats know I'm the alpha. And especially as I had more than one, right? If you let one loose, or the other one will follow. Like then they do
For sure.
whatever they want to do. So after I realized that, like they know my commands. And they know they better follow mama's commands because if not, it will have consequences.
I need to know what these commands are. What are they?
They are typical German commands. Come, here.
Your cats come on command.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am the most impressed I've ever been in my life right now. I've never seen a well-trained cat.
I know,
life.
cat. I was
Not
going to say,
once.
cat. You rarely see cats that are trained.
I have them.
I want to see these videos.
I have them. I will do a video. I have them in my side
Please.
yard and my backyard, and they are with me. And if I just see they're ready to go after whatever, no, inside. They go inside.
Wow.
They know exactly. They can stay outside with mama as long as they follow. If they're not following, inside.
So you know exactly what I've been saying, right?
Yeah, but
So you
does
know
it
how
make a
important
sense
it is.
too? Does it make a difference too if you have one or two dogs or three dogs? How important the commands are?
Yeah, well, commands are one thing and behaviors are another. So you can get by without commands if you're very consistent with behavior. For example, yes, I have 18 dogs here right now, And let's say I
Wow.
allow one of them to bark uncontrollably, then they're all going to bark uncontrollably.
Yeah.
So I
They
have to have
follow.
control over every single dog here. Otherwise, all you'd be hearing right now is crazy barking, right? There's dogs everywhere right now,
You have
everywhere.
18 right now. I can hear like a pin drop in your house. It's like you're in a library. I can't hear anything. That's for anyone listening. If you want to know if Jeff's a real master dog cleaner, there's 18 dogs in that house, and I haven't heard one bark. I haven't heard one cry. Jeff, that's really impressive. By the way, I love that you said you have to take your dog in public. Oliver comes to, well, not any Trader Joe's anymore. By Trader Joe's, they've gotten a little, but Publix, Whole Foods, restaurants, all the restaurants, in South Florida, you can sit outside with the dog. And you brought up the groomer. Oliver has a crush on his groomer. He doesn't shake when he goes in there. He's not scared. I see dogs go in there crying, scared. She's like, he's my best dog
That's
always. She's like, he
yep.
lets me bathe him. He trusts me. He lets me trim, cut. And I was like, well, at least I'm doing something right.
Well, that's something very right, by the way. And there's some dogs you could never, let's say, teach to love being at the groomer, but they should all learn to tolerate it.
Right.
And
They
my
don't love
wife's a
it, but
groomer.
but he doesn't cry. He's not
Yep,
worried. He hears me talking
that's
about
it.
him.
Right. So
Fighting.
I'm not gonna be mad at a dog for not liking having their nails clipped, right?
Right.
But on the other hand, you can't have them biting you when you're trying to do that. So it's walking a fine line. And I think you got Oliver. You live basically in public when you live in Fort Lauderdale and you live in a busy apartment building. Think about the difference between that and someone who lives where I live and their dog's only in their yard. Think about the two
Makes me
different.
sad. It's like you
Yeah.
said, like having no social skills. Oliver is the Casanova of the building. He has, I mean, at least five girlfriends. He's got his main girlfriend, that's Ashley's dog, Penelope, who's a bit
All
more,
right.
who's 45 pounds, and Oliver's 16. He has another Penelope who's a little hot diggity dog, Lola, and then a
Yeah,
couple mixed poodles. But he has so much stimulation just
that's
from
right.
having all these dogs in the building and in the neighborhood. And we have play dates and the new
But
park that we
do you
bring him
remember
to.
when we were growing up, people would be like, I feel so bad for that dog. He lives in a little apartment in Manhattan,
Right.
right? Where
Yeah.
this other dog, lucky him, has an acre of property. And I was like, no, you guys have that reversed. That dog that's sitting in that acre of property, he's explored every inch. The first 3 days he was there, he's bored, he's understimulated. The dog in Manhattan's going for 5 walks a day in a very
Yeah, and
busy
he's
place,
seeing everybody,
right?
he's meeting people, he's hearing
Yeah,
the sounds, the sirens, the whole thing.
that's
Absolutely.
it. Dogs don't
Yeah.
need a big house. They need lots of stimulation out in public, and that's where they thrive.
Yeah, I don't have a big house. It's a decent
So,
sized place.
so Jeff, dogs are not like cats. Like the cats, uh, they lose weight by being brain stimulated from looking outside, from the birds and the squirrels and whatever is going on. Like it's like television. I have like the windows are their television for them because I have bird feeders out
Yeah.
there and whatever else you can imagine, water bowls for the birds coming and the
Oh,
squirrels.
cool.
So the dogs are not like that. So if they have 1 acre and they explore the 1 acre, there's nothing for them to
It
go back
gets
to.
very boring very quick. So they have to figure something out. So like, oh, okay, my job is to keep everyone away from this, which is why you'll see so many dogs fence fighting or barking at everyone that walks by the house. This is what I have to do to stimulate myself. So yeah, those dogs, it's great to have property. It's great to have a dog run and get physical exercise. But people don't understand that mental stimulation is even more
They
important,
need other
right?
dogs. They have to have a social life. It's so important. If
New
Oliver doesn't have a
smells.
play date for
Yep.
2 days, he's kind of like he wants action. I can tell. And I'm like, okay, let's do this. And I just go outside and I go on routes that I know he's going to see other dogs around the same time, or I bring him to the park. Um, but I think that it's if you love animals, this is my take. I had a couple cats growing up too. But if you love animals in your home, right? Yes, some people have birds. Some of these kids have little hamsters, but dogs and cats are companions. They can be your best friend. They can be like your children. They're not human beings, but they can be like that. And I know that they say that dogs are man's best friend. It's woman's best friend too. He's my best friend. I love this guy. I take him everywhere. So my takeaway is if you're thinking of getting a dog, really think hard that you are going to be able to put in the time and not just be someone who lets it out twice a day and goes to work all day or puts it in a crate. And if you do get the dog, you have to contact Jeff from Palm Beach Dog Academy because that dog will need training.
Or I can help you find a great trainer in your own local area if you happen to be far away.
If you're
But
far away,
training is always
or
a good
Jeff can
idea.
do it over Zoom and he can
That's true.
he can do some of that and some of the commands. Daggy, what's your takeaway?
My takeaway is you cannot learn the commands by just researching them in AI. You have to practice it. You have to have somebody correcting you, because a lot of us, when we practice something, we believe we practice the right thing. Then it goes from subconsciousness into consciousness, or it goes from consciousness into subconsciousness, and then we practice the wrong thing. So no matter, from my experience, with AI or without AI, you need to have somebody who is already there, who can lift you up, that you get to the point where you want to get.
That's true. You need someone there to tell you what you're doing right and what you might need to change a little bit. And how many clients I've had who've tried YouTube videos and, never mind the just reading about it online or something. It's so much more difficult than they imagine. Right. So it's really good to find yourself a good trainer you trust who's going to help guide you through how to teach the most basic foundation of language. And that language is going to get your dog through the rest of his life calm, confident, happy, and safe. And that's what I believe in with all my heart.
I love it. Well, Jeff, we thank you as always. Jeff's our only regular, everybody. That's how much we love him and we love his
It
insight.
makes me
And
feel so nice. Thank you, guys.
it's the truth. And we're all pet owners and we love animals. And you can find Jeff at palmbeachdogacademy.com. And you can find him, Jeff, tell them your TikTok and your Instagram.
Yeah, Dog Training Mastery at TikTok and Palm Beach Dog Academy at Instagram.
Whoop, whoop. We love you. We hear you. We see you. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Daggy. Have a great
Thank you guys
weekend,
for having me.
everybody. Love your pets and give them a little treat. Bye, everybody.
Please note that the views shared by our guests are their own. We invite honest stories and diverse perspectives, but they don't necessarily reflect our opinions or serve as professional advice.